Well, after 13 years, we have been invited back into the world of Pandora, and as an early Christmas present, Milton, we were invited back in theaters to watch the original.
I have to admit, it was better in 3D and in IMAX.
All right, so it was your favorite movie of all time.
I didn't say that.
So it was tied for your favorite movie of all time.
I didn't say that either.
I accept it. We're talking about all things Avatar on this episode of the Finding Good podcast with Kevin and Milton.
Okay, we are here talking about probably your favorite movie of all times, and I don't know if we should talk about spoilers because this movie's been around. You've seen it 100 times, so yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about spoilers. I mean, we will talk about spoilers, but it's not spoilers.
It's not a spoiler.
I've seen this movie easily, I want to say 40 times, maybe.
Wow.
A lot.
You're obsessed.
It's been out for a while, though.
I see you and your obsession for this movie.
I see this movie a lot.
Okay, good. We got to go see it together.
Yeah.
Went to the IMAX re-release, and I didn't know it was in 3D, so that was a surprise.
Yeah.
And it actually took it to another level,
It really
I thought. And what was cool was they had an extra scene just for the IMAX release that we saw at the end, and I have to admit it confused me. The extra
scene for the new movie that's coming.
The new movie, yeah.
Okay, why?
Because it kind of gave me a feeling, and maybe you can clear this up because you're an Avatar aficionado or whatever you want to call it.
Accepted.
Yeah. It kind of gave me the feeling like we're not connected to the original Avatar. This is like in a whole nother part of the planet, and it's a separate like clan of avatars, and maybe it's going to have nothing to do with the first movie.
Well, it'll have a lot to do with the first movie. They're still on Pandora.
Right.
So they're still on the planet, but they're in a different part of the planet. So now they're swimming.
Right.
Instead of they're on land.
Yeah.
And there's swimming creatures.
Right.
Instead of flying creatures.
But do you know if it's connected to the original?
Yeah. No, like Jake, the main character.
Yeah.
He's in his avatar because he's no longer a human. Now
Right.
he's like an actual, I don't really know how they did that. Well, they didn't do it. It's not real. But I don't know how they did it. You're not fooling me, Cameron. No, it's all tied. It's all tied to.
Oh, okay. So then now we have the trailer to the new one that's coming out. I mean, when you first saw that trailer, you must have just lost.
I'm not kidding you. The hairs on my arm stood up. I got chills. Might have, might have choked up a little bit.
Okay.
It was really good.
I'd love to see you cry again. So let's see the trailer.
Oh, okay.
So that I can see these tears welling up in your eyes and see the emotional side of you. So let's go ahead and check it out. Okay.
I mean, that was really good.
I mean, it was okay.
Here's what I don't understand. That trailer came out a couple months ago. And before we recorded this episode,
yes,
you said, hey, we should watch the new trailer. I literally just watched it yesterday. Have you not been watching it this whole time?
No.
You watched it.
I mean, every time I go to see a movie,
Yeah.
it's there. They always show it.
Okay.
So now,
But you're not just hanging out and like it's going through your day and then like you just get a thought of like,
No.
I really want to see that Avatar trailer.
that would be
again.
ridiculous. Why would I do that?
I don't either.
I have other things to do in my life. But I will say this, like, I think James Cameron is obsessed with that one scene where they're just dancing on top of a tree branch. Like, that's in the original. That's in this next one. It'll probably be in the next 3. Like, can we get a new shot, Mr. Cameron? Like, why does this always have to be the thing?
I think I appreciate you just dogging James Cameron, one of the best filmmakers in the history of cinema. I mean, you got Terminator 2.
It's great.
You got
the best Terminator, by the way. Terminator
which
2.
is why I said
Yes.
you've got Terminator
Yes.
2. Did he do 3?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember anyway.
He did the first one, I know.
I hope he didn't, because that one wasn't that great.
He did The Abyss. Do you remember The
I
Abyss?
do remember The Abyss. Good movie.
It
Yes.
was a good movie.
Very
I
good
wonder if
movie.
it holds up.
No. I saw it the other day.
There
No,
you go.
It doesn't.
What else did he do?
It doesn't matter.
Oh, okay. He did that deep one, Under the Ocean, where they go deep.
That's
but that
The
was
Abyss.
more. No. This was like for reals, like where they get in a submarine and it's a documentary, and they go to like the bottom of the ocean.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that.
Because he's
Is it good?
I don't know. I didn't see it. He did a lot of deep sea diving stuff.
Okay. Well,
Which, if you look at Avatar 2, there's a lot of water in it. So
Yeah.
I think he's a legit guy to make Avatar 2.
look. Okay. This movie, this last showing of it, this last sit down and watch for me was the best version of the movie I've ever seen. IMAX 3D, the colors pop, the action pops, but you know, as a movie itself overall, it's not that original. Honestly, sorry, I mean, it wasn't unenjoyable. I didn't go away saying it's the worst movie of all time.
Right.
But I mean, this whole thing of like, I'm going in to infiltrate and then I fall in love with the girl or the people. And I mean, the story's been done 100,000 times in 100 different ways. So it was fine. As a spectacle, a visual spectacle, can't be topped, I don't think.
I just feel, since we talk about movies a lot on the podcast, there are very few moments in cinema I remember more than watching 3D in IMAX, which is when I originally saw this movie.
Yeah.
And that floaty thing.
like a mushroom.
Yeah, it came down and landed on the arm, but it just felt like it was right there. I think, in all seriousness, Avatar was one of the first movies I think that used 3D as less of a gimmick and more of a way to tell the story and push the story forward.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. And so I'm really excited to see where they go here. It's been 13 years. They're making 3 more of these things.
Wow.
Disney has their hands on it, so they're going to franchise the heck out of this.
And you yourself will keep the franchise alive how many times you see each of these movies. Like,
I have the unlimited pass, so joke's on them.
you're gonna have to take vacation
That's true
with the amount of times you're gonna see
right.
these movies.
Yeah. So
Now you've been on this Avatar ride. Is it at Disney or Universal? or?
Disney World. It's at Animal Kingdom at Disney World.
Okay, yeah. Well, how was that?
I mean, I joked about crying on the trailer. I didn't really cry
Okay.
watching the trailer. I did, however, cry during the ride. And it is a family joke because both of my kids witnessed it.
Oh boy.
And they're like, Dad, like, pull yourself together. Like, you don't understand. This is real life now. And it was one of those moments for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really great.
Okay. Good. Now okay.
Milton will no
So-
longer do this podcast with me ever again. I'm weirding him out.
No, that's okay. I cry at things I shouldn't. It's fine.
Oh,
it's
thanks.
fine. Yeah,
Appreciate it.
But okay, to go into where we really want to take this conversation, we have to talk about one thing, which is, and it's a humbling moment for me. Okay.
Okay.
I'll be real with you because you humbled me.
Oh.
Okay. Because I always thought the dumbest thing about Avatar
Okay.
is this mineral that they're trying to extricate from the planet, right? And to do that, they have to get rid of what's the name of the people anyway? The
Navi.
The Navi. They have to get rid of them because it's right where they live. It's underneath. And the mineral is called Unobtainium. Okay? And I went into that saying, like, that's the most not uncreative name you could ever make for a thing. Like, so we can't obtain it, so let's call it Unobtainium. But then you, the crack researcher, you go online and you find out that this is actually a thing that scientists call the perfect mineral is called unobtainium.
Since like the 1950s.
So I feel like an idiot because for a long time I've held that against this movie and it's actually what it's supposed to be called.
Serves you right for doubting James Cameron.
Yeah, sorry, James.
That was a funny movie. Unobtainium. Who knows?
Unobtainium. So, okay, so here's the story. They want to get there, the unobtainium, and they have to get the Na'vi out, and they send Jake in to see if he can convince them to move.
Right.
Because they want to get... Now, this makes a very uncomfortable conversation, okay? Because here, one of the things that's very popular right now in our pop culture is what's called presentism. Okay, presentism is
I haven't heard of this.
Okay, presentism is where we take the standards of today and we put them on what happened in the past. So as an example, so we take the way we see women now, right? And trying to have equality for women. And then we look back to like the time of the founding fathers or even beyond, and we criticize them because they didn't treat women the way we now treat women.
Okay.
Right? So that's presentism. And when we think about history, especially for a nation, I'm gonna say something that I know is not gonna be. Some people are not gonna be happy to hear this, but
it can't be any worse than you not thinking Avatar is not the best.
No, it's
movie
worse than
so
that.
we're safe.
Okay, but this is history. Here is history. History is nations taking what they think they want or need from other nations or other people, either because they're stronger or they have more technology or they just had a better plan or whatever. And that is the history of history. It's never been different than that.
Right.
Okay, so in this story, it's the Earth people, right, coming to the Na'vi and saying, "We want what you have, and we're going to find a way to do it." And they use the most awful methods by just destroying them, basically, to get what they want. And they've displaced them, they removed them, even killed them if they have to. And some would look at our nation and say, well, that's what America did too when the people came over and we had Native Americans here and we just said, we're going to take your land. And now that we look back at that history, there are some who say, we got to fix that. That was wrong. We shouldn't have done that. And now we have to fix it. And some people want to fix it by giving money or opportunities or land back or whatever it is. Let's make the wrongs right. That we did. And in theory, it sounds right. It sounds great. I wonder if in practice, in the practical side of things, how easy that can be done.
I think it's absolutely tough. The larger the issue gets, because you're dealing with so many different variables. I think if you just give everybody unobtainium, we're all happy. Like that's just solves the whole problem. That doesn't work.
No, and
well, that's kind of what some people want.
That's
like, I would like all the money. You give me all the money, and then we're good. Whatever number that all means to the group, and let's solve it with that. So that's one way. And you made a great point earlier when we were talking about this. Is yes, that might solve the issue now, but then what happens to the next generation and the next generation? Where does this stop? So it's a very hard conversation. The larger the issue is. And my brain can't handle that because I'm not smart enough. So I really like zoning in on looking at, okay, where does this issue live personally for me? Where does this hit my world, and and your world? And so I want to look at that too.
Yeah.
The individual. What happens when someone takes something from you?
Yeah.
Whatever that is, and how do you get paid? How do you get paid back? What does that look like?
Yeah. Yeah, I see. I've seen this in a practical sense when I help people in relationships. Okay, I'll just. I'm sure you wouldn't be surprised that this version of the story actually happened, but I'll make it as generic as I can. So, one spouse is unfaithful to another spouse. Okay, it's wrong. It destroys the relationship. It makes it just really bad, right? That one spouse that made the mistake realizes, I screwed up, I messed up, I shouldn't have done that, that was wrong, and says, okay, I want to work it out. I want to say I'm sorry, I want forgiveness, I want to promise that I'm going to do better, I will seek whatever path I have to seek so that I could be whole again and treat my spouse with respect. And let's say the other spouse says, okay, I forgive you. I say, yes, let's try and work it out. Let's make it happen. Cool. You would think, great, it's done, right?
Yeah.
But it's not done. Here's what happens. Here's what I've seen happen. The injured spouse now feels like, yes, I forgave, but I still haven't been made whole.
Right.
I haven't received enough yet to make me feel good about taking this person back, forgiving them, and working on the situation. So a lot of times the only weapon that spouse has is to remind the other spouse, you did this to me, and I'm going to keep reminding you until I feel like I don't either want to, or I don't have to, or I'm good. Now it's fair again. It's even. And I've never seen a couple get to the place where they get like, okay, I've shamed you enough.
Really?
It's done. Yeah, I've shamed you enough. We're good now.
Yeah.
It almost never gets paid.
No.
Paid back.
Right. Yeah.
And that relationship just crumbles slowly.
It's a huge gap that you can't feel. You can't fill with things, words, actions. It's an absolute destruction. So what have you seen? What have you seen work?
We're not really good at this, to be honest. To be able to forgive and to truly forgive in the sense where I don't need any more payment other than the moment of forgiveness. Yeah. And I don't know. I know for me. So there have been times that my wife has done something or said something that has hurt me, and I will admit that in times of high stress or in anger, I remember those moments. We say forgive and forget. I don't know if that's real. Honestly, I don't know how true that is.
Not on this side.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's there. So what I do is, and this is just me personally, so I don't know. Everyone has to figure out their process. But what I do is I say, oh man, I'm remembering that thing again. But I'm not gonna let that determine what I do next.
Yeah.
It's there. It's haunting me.
Sure.
And she's reminding me of that right now. But I have to just deal with it. I have to pray, reflect, fight the good fight in the brain and say like, no, that's not going to tell me what to do next. Yeah. I'm going to love. I'm going to be kind. I'm going to be gracious. Because truthfully, I think my problem is that I feel taken advantage of. I feel that things are unfair, and I want them to. There was
not resolution in that past conflict.
At least not in here.
Sure, for you.
For me, no.
Right. So
no.
that wound is still there, It might have scabbed over, but it certainly didn't get stitched up, attended to, and healed in any positive way, shape, or form. And so it doesn't take much to open up that wound.
No. And if it's a small thing, and small is relative, right? But if it's a small thing like an argument, like, my wife and I have a disagreement, that happens. Imagine a big thing, you were raped.
Right.
Or you were cheated on, by your spouse or significant other. Someone murdered or killed a family member, right?
Robbed you of your life savings.
Right, yeah.
Swindled you out of your house and home, or whatever happens.
Big, impactful moments, right? Can you imagine how hard it would be to get to that point where you can just not expect that something better has to come your way?
I think you used the right word there. It started first with an attitude of ownership. I deserve this, so I'm going to take it, right? That's step one. And now the person who has been taken from really has this heart of you need to do something for me. And you need to hurt too. You need to give this back. You need to give this back to me. And part of this process, the way this has been explained to me, is this giant hook just got landed into your body. Think of this giant fish hook.
Okay.
And it just gutted you.
Oh my goodness.
And it's just sticking there.
Okay.
And you have to find a way to exist with this hook in you. And a lot of times what we do, I'm going somewhere.
It sounds awful.
It does, because it is. A lot of times what we do is we'll just leave it in and not really attend to it. And we'll just go, well, everything's okay. We'll get through some conflict, but we'll not heal this. And I'll just ignore that this hook is there, like you said. It keeps coming back, and something keeps reminding you, I got something poking out of me.
Yeah.
What we really need to do is cut the line that's still tied to the person or the thing that has hurt us, and we have to remove the hook.
Wow.
That is incredibly painful. You think of the barb on the end of the hook, and it's going to create damage on the way out, and then, and only then, can you truly begin to heal. And so this process of removing this thing that has gotten into you, that is still tying you to that action, is a huge process.
Yeah.
And I think it goes beyond just forgiving. I think we're told a lot, especially as believers, just forgive, and you need to find that forgiveness for you. Yes, but you also have to sometimes remove yourself, and you have to let go, and you have to really go through a very painful letting go process to heal from that. Sometimes that does look like the dismantling of a marriage sometimes. Sometimes it looks like, well, I'm not going to put myself in the situation with this friend who actually engulfed me in all this drama and chaos. Can it heal okay? I think it can. But can you heal okay with that hook still in you? I would argue no. So you got a lot of work to do.
I remember when I was in my first church as a youth pastor, I didn't know anything. I was so green. I really was a bad youth pastor back then.
I doubt that.
But I worked hard for sure, but I didn't know enough, right? And I was involved with a children's ministry at the time, and there were many leaders, and I was still learning, and it sounds like I'm making excuses for myself, but I could have been better. And I remember in a public setting, one of the leaders just said one of the rudest things to me ever. Now, I don't even remember the exact words. I just remember how I felt. I felt embarrassed, and I felt angry. Embarrassed that all these people heard what she said.
Yep.
And I know that they heard it because one of the other leaders came to me later and said she shouldn't have said that, right? So I know it was heard. And then angry that she would disrespect me because I just have that issue that I don't like being disrespected. It's one of the first things that makes me angry, right? And I never said anything to her about it. And I left that church 5 years later to my next church, and then my whole ministry journey. And 20 years later, that was still bothering me. And I always thought, what would I do if I ever was face to face with this woman again? And I know what I would want to do, which would make me feel good and make me feel fair, is to look at her in the face and say, you know what, you were one of the worst leaders that I ever had. And the way you spoke to me was so disrespectful. And I would never, like, I want to just give her a piece. I'll never recommend you for
20
anything.
years later, she's like, who are you?
Yeah, right. Like, what?
Like, what
you were when? When were you at my church? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, oh man, the thought that would make me feel better. But here's what I realized. The minute I accepted that I was just going to have to feel bad about this, and that's fine. The minute I accepted that reality to say, like, first of all, I'm never going to speak to her that way because that's wrong.
Sure.
Right? So I'm just going to have to say, you know what? She had a bad moment. I had a bad moment. I felt bad about it. She probably doesn't even realize that she did this to me. It's okay. It's okay. I don't need to balance the scales with her. The minute I made that decision, it was like,
Let's wait.
it was gone.
It's gone.
It was gone.
That's
I was
awesome.
like, oh, wow. How did I do that? It's like, it was that easy. I could have done this 15 years ago and not carried this with me. So I think what that taught me is that it's okay to carry that burden as long as you have it in perspective what it really is. It doesn't define who you are.
What I hear you saying is you let her go.
I did let her go.
And you said, you do not owe me anything. And that is a really hard place to get to of people who have wronged you, to get to a point where you go, I don't need anything from you anymore. I mean, that's removing the hook. Just to go back to that metaphor, for 15 years, think about what you did. You walked around with this wound that you didn't attend to, you just ignored, and it festered and created a lot of bitterness, and it always reminded you had this with you. If there's someone who has wronged you, try to get to a place. Maybe it looks like talking about it. Maybe it looks like sitting down and just writing a letter to them, and just going, like, literally saying, "This is what you did to me, and I don't need anything from you anymore. I don't need an apology. I don't need a letter from you back. I don't need you to respond to this. I forgive you. And I'm letting this now go. I'm removing the hook. I'm cutting the ties. I'm walking away." And it's amazing. It's similar to what you just said. It's amazing how much weight just gets lifted. I
know a lady who was in a seminar, and the seminar was about spiritual and mental health. And the presenter was giving his lecture, and as that lecture happened, this woman realized, it came to her mind, a memory that had been suppressed, that she had even forgotten, didn't even know was in there, and it was of her cousin molesting her.
Wow.
She didn't even remember it happened, and this conversation bubbled, brought it to the surface. So she went to the speaker because he offered, like, if any of you have anything you want to talk on a more personal level, come see me. And she went to see the speaker, and the speaker had her do something which was incredible. He said, I want you to take a piece of paper, and I want you to write a letter to this person that did this to you, and tell him everything that he did to you, how he made you feel, the pain that you're suffering, all of it. Boom, 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 boom. Do it all. And she was unsure about doing it, and she did it. And once the letter was done, he said, okay, how do you feel? I feel better. He's like, okay, now you can throw it in the trash. You don't even have to let the person know how you felt. Just you expressing it, saying it out loud, and getting to the place where now it almost doesn't matter. Not that it doesn't matter, but it doesn't have that power anymore over you.
And there you go.
You know,
There's no more power.
What you said about writing, I think, is a powerful tool. I saw it myself. I saw it in this person. So if that's the issue that you're dealing with, that's a tool you could use. Just write that letter and say like, okay, it's done. I got it out of me. I'm good. It doesn't have that power anymore, and it's so freeing.
Yeah, maybe shred it though.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe shred it.
Yeah, I think he's right about that one. He's not right about a lot of things, but that one you got right.
There you go. Well, there is a little bit of encouragement on the journey, pulled out of one of the best movies of all time. We'll just say the best. I won't call it.
Maybe. No, not maybe. It's not.
Avatar 2 coming out soon, in a couple months.
Yeah.
Or already out, depending on when you park on this. If you want new episodes of the Find a Good podcast, you can hit subscribe and like, comment. We would love to interact with you. Let us know some movies we should review next on the Find a Good podcast. Take care.